Hey, everybody. I am here with Reverend Erin B. Gilmore, and I'm excited to work with her, offering a little bit of input on what's going on lately. And we just thought, since we're about 6 months into this transitional season that we had all talked about at the annual celebration, that this would be a good opportunity to give you kind of a progress report-ish. Because there's no way we can really touch on everything, but we wanted to kind of give some highlights and give you all an opportunity to kind of get a feel for, hey, stuff is happening and it's actually very good. So there you have it. Hey, Erin B.
Hey, Sarah B.
So, um, so what's alive for you? Like, you're seeing this stuff on a day-to-day basis. You're seeing, so we had talked about um, relational internal work. We talked about pursuing systems and technical fixes that needed to be done, and we also talked about kind of sustaining and adaptive work. You got your hands in all of this stuff. Um, yeah, how does it feel? What's going on so far for you?
Yeah, I think what feels most alive and what's most exciting right now in all of the different places and conversations, board conversations, association conversations, committee meetings, committee on ministry, uh, there is, and thinking back to like where we've been over the last even 10 years to what we've been through, for me, there's just this real exciting clarity around understanding ourselves as a network. So, I think about a model where there's a spoke and a hub model where there's something at the center that relates outward to the individual entities. The beauty in that is like it's all connected, right? But in general, there's a connection going between the center and the
Yeah.
rim rather than necessarily all those pieces around the spoke connecting with each other. And this isn't a new idea. We've been talking about reimagining ourselves as a network. But I don't know, there's something thinking about that intellectually and then just seeing it where that is alive in reality. And so
Mm.
I'm feeling there is, I just keep experiencing, oh, that's the network being activated. Oh, that's the network in relationship. And an example being congregations in Metro Denver beginning to gather and say, how are we supporting one another as we face these really large questions around building use and sacred space, and saying, I don't want to be in this conversation alone. In fact, if I'm in this conversation alone, I'm missing out on some resources. So I'm seeing the network activated organically, and I just keep wanting to shed light on that. It's really
Well,
exciting.
and you're making me think about Lisa Stenmark in Wheatland, Wyoming, talking
Yes.
about like um, helping to form a cohort of lay leaders who are receiving training from Phillips for $100 per course that we can actually cover, but helping them, work with each other and develop skills that will help them lead their congregations, and whether that's in relation to like theology or preaching, or whether it's in relation to administration or whatever. Um, like those types of things where people are seeking each other out and equipping each other in a really cool way.
Right.
Um,
So like if I just translate, if you look on our website for the last several years, it said the Rocky Mountain Conference exists to nurture, inspire, and challenge faith and justice communities across the West. In my mind, I've been, in the transition proposal, we talked about the Rocky Mountain Conference exists to inspire, strengthen, and nurture local faith community or churches in Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming, right?
mm,
Um, but when I think about the Rocky Mountain Conference is a network of churches in Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming, supporting, equipping, and resourcing each other in the work of living out the ministry of Jesus. Like that's what I see happening. Like that's actually who we are. Um, and Lisa's an excellent example, seeing a need, asking who else in my region, who else is out there in the conference that is saying, yeah, we need to respond to the fact that we don't have as many clergy or that we don't have people who are able to go to rural spaces. How do we continue to provide leadership? And there's people saying, yes, I want to learn how to do that. So that's exciting.
Well, and
Um,
as you're saying that, I'm thinking of like from an English major's perspective, thinking about the like just the difference between the object of that, the subject of that. Like, and so in the way that it has been voiced, the churches have been the object of the sentence. And in what you just said about being a network together, that makes each of our ministries in whatever form they are, the subject that has agency, that is actually acting and acting together to support one another as we're actually trying to live this thing out in meaningful ways in our own context. And so I just really, I really
and
love
yeah,
that.
I love it too in the sense of maybe it's another word for covenantal, but maybe in, a way of thinking about covenant, but to be part of the network or to be a covenant member or to be connected to this network, is to realize it's like not that we're trying to be in relationship, we are, and we can either lean into that relationship, we can recognize that we are one, right? And so if there's a ministry cohort happening out of Wheatland that's accessible to everybody, not every association has to develop a ministry cohort, right? Or if there
Right.
is a really strong cohort happening in Denver around sacred building use and how do we reimagine our buildings, how does the rest of the network benefit? Right? Like we all don't have to do all the things when we see ourselves as one body.
Yes. Yes. One body, many parts, for crying out loud. Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking about the whole concept of communion as well. Like as we celebrate communion, we're not mustering up something, you know, like we're actually celebrating or acknowledging something that exists already because of the finished work of Christ. And so we are reminding ourselves that we're participating in something together. And I think about, you know, Jesus at that table with you know, some of his closest followers who he knew were going to let him down, you know, or even like abandon him or even betray him, you know, but there he was and like, no, you know, we're in this thing. I'm in this thing with you. And yeah, even with the likes of us. And so
Yeah, yeah,
just always amazed at, you know, it's nice to have those reminders, you know, and I think I felt this a lot at the leadership retreat that we had in September at La Forêt, like the whole that gathering, that combination of people that, as far as I know, hadn't I, you know, I had never been in a meeting with that combination of people before, and it was just amazing. And um, I left there feeling like, okay, you know, we've got work ahead of us, but we've got a really good foundation relationally. There's a stronger trust. There's a stronger sense of candor and an ability um, to be courageous with each other in various ways. And we need that in order to do the things that are ahead of us.
yeah. It's like building the muscle of being and learning together. Like we're just always a learning community. Like this is what this time is calling forth is like paying attention, trying something, learning, adapting, paying attention, right? Like, um, and yeah, so how do we continue to uh, learn alongside one another as we are each seeking to be faithful, right? To be faithful to who it is to be the church, what it is to be the church, especially now in this new era that we're about to step into, or next
So
era.
if I can, because, you know, I don't want this to go too long, I'm wondering about what would you like to see among us, like from your vantage point? I'm, yeah, like what would be helpful as far as, you know, if folks have ideas or energy around a particular thing, the if we have agency, like, and we don't have a pope or a bishop, um, I feel like there's a lot of room, right? There's a lot of freedom to enter into these conversations together. What would you suggest would be good starting points for that? I'm just kind of throwing you off, maybe, because I.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I think this is a season in which both individually and collectively we get really, really clear about what our gifts are, right? And so that will serve the whole.
Mhm.
So it's, and I think in order for us to be of service in this time, we have to be clear about what we have to offer. And so, whether that's taking time as a congregation to say, like, what is at the heart of who we are? What do we most care about? What do we have practice doing together? And just being clear about it so that when someone in the conference says, gosh, we really need help with X, you can be like, oh, we know how to do that. But we don't know how to raise our hands if we're not clear about what our gifts are. And I think that's true as a congregation and as individuals. So that's one thing. I think this is a season of, if we don't have that clarity, let's gain clarity. And then yeah, Allison and I are working on some different possibilities of how do we raise our hands? Like, I have a need, I have a gift. How do we connect those digitally? Or so you have access to each other's phone numbers, you have access to each other's um, information. So we're working on a digital platform of some kind that will just make it easy for people to connect and to ask each other questions without having to go through that center, right? That we can have it on a public space that is makes us all more visible to each other. So those are a couple of things that come to mind. And yeah, I think I guess it's my first plug, but like get June 19th to the 21st on your calendars for the annual meeting. This is an opportunity where we want to like embody that network, embody our covenant, be in relationship with one another, making these connections with one another, finding out what it is that we are feeling called to offer, and activating the network in various ways. Where we see need, how do we come together and respond together as the church? Um,
Well,
and
I'm
that's in
hoping that we
that's in
can.
Loveland. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
But I'm hoping that we can continue to, like, send out videos like this from time to time in different combinations of us. Like, um, I think people would love to hear more from folks across the conference, and it'd just be nice to kind of, chat with one another in different ways. Because I think the newsletter, I really recommend folks sign up for the newsletter, because it does give stuff in one place, right? That you can click on it, you can access information that you need that might be useful. But not everybody reads, apparently, the newsletter, or even gets it. And so hopefully we can get, like, these types of conversations out to people. Maybe there's other ways too, but if folks have ideas or concerns or questions, I would really recommend, I would really welcome hearing those personally, and I'd be
Yeah,
happy to try to respond in any way that I can. I'm sure you feel the same way.
yeah, yeah.
So, but thank you for taking the
Can
time.
I share one more exciting thing? I know we're
Well,
almost
I will allow it. Yeah.
well, maybe it will be our next conversation, but
Oh, look at you.
of who we might be able to interview. But I think as in this network, one of the things we've talked about or I've been imagining is like, what is the value of being part of the network or being in this covenantal relationship with each other? And one of those things, one of the heartbeats of the network is this: we covenant to help form, support, and hold accountable those who lead us. And so over the last 6 months, I will say, and this is what I shared with every association, is that as we move to the conference-wide committee on ministry, what like in a association, I understood that the COM was really at the heartbeat of the association, right? And so as we all chose to move to a conference-wide committee on ministry, the COM is now the heartbeat in many ways of the conference, in terms of this committee work touches every church, it touches every authorized minister, and it so like in this transition, as I look at 3 years and 2.5 years in, one of my primary goals is at the end of these 3 years, our committees on ministry are strong, equipped. We have clear succession of leaders coming up through that, because being part of the network is having that kind of scaffolding, having that network be able to be reliable, especially in that area, right? Of that formation, authorization, and support. So
Yeah, let's talk more about that next time.
we'll invite Leslie
On the next
Etheridge.
episode, we will invite Leslie Etheridge. So tell us about her real super quick.
So she is going to be starting in a 6-month position with the conference, uh, just 10 hours a week, but solely focused on supporting and strengthening the committees on ministry. So our different sections. So we will welcome her in our next episode and have an opportunity to meet her.
So great.
Can we say episode? I don't know. We can
I
say
know.
episode.
I guess we're now in a series. So there you
Okay.
go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
And yeah, looking forward to seeing the next things.
All right. Be well.
Peace.